Have you ever noticed how the people who seem truly respected, the ones nobody dares to cross casually, to interrupt, to demand too much from, are almost never the loudest, the most available, or the most eager to please? After decades of watching boardrooms, family tables, friendships, and community circles, a quiet pattern emerges. The ones who remain untouchable aren't invincible. They don't have some magical force field or endless power. They simply mastered one thing most of us take years to understand, making themselves hard to reach. Not physically, but emotionally, psychologically, socially. They became scarce in all the ways that matter. And in doing so, they created a kind of invisible armor that protects them from the daily wear and tear of other people's agendas, tests, and insecurities. If you've lived long enough to feel the weight of being too open, too reliable, too emotionally generous, this is for you. Today we're going to talk about what real untouchability looks like, why it works, why it's often misunderstood, and how someone with your experience can step into it without losing your warmth or your humanity. Being untouchable is never about being invincible. Invincibility is a fantasy. Untouchability is positioning, deliberate, quiet, strategic distance that changes how others behave around you. It's the difference between being a mountain people climb because they can, and a mountain they admire from afar because approaching it feels like too much effort. The goal isn't to scare people away. It's to make interference feel unnecessary or unwise. Over the years, you've probably seen this in action. The elder whose rare words carry weight, the senior colleague nobody dares to interrupt, the family member whose boundaries are never questioned. They didn't become untouchable by accumulating more power. They became untouchable by reducing access to themselves. Some people remain constant targets because they are too predictable, too accessible, and too emotionally available. Predictability invites testing. When others know exactly how you'll respond, anger, explanation, apology, reassurance, they feel safe poking. Accessibility invites demands. When you're always reachable, always quick to reply, always present, people treat your time as public property. Emotional availability invites manipulation. When you share your feelings freely, when you react visibly, when you let others see your vulnerabilities in real time, you give them the map to your pressure points. These three traits together make someone easy to move, easy to influence, easy to drain. Experience shows us that the more open we are in these ways, the more often we become the emotional punching bag, the reliable fixer, the default shoulder. Reducing any one of them begins to change the dynamic. The psychology of being out of reach is simple yet profound. Distance creates respect, curiosity, and caution. When someone is hard to access, the brain automatically assigns higher value. Scarcity principle applies to people as much as it does to anything else. When you're not always available, others start to wonder what you're doing, why you're not responding, what it would take to get your attention. That uncertainty breeds caution. They hesitate before interrupting. They think twice before demanding. They choose their words more carefully. Respect follows because the brain equates difficulty of access with importance. Curiosity follows because mystery is magnetic. Caution follows because people fear wasting effort on someone who might not reciprocate. All three combine to form a shield far stronger than any display of force. Emotional availability is one of the biggest liabilities we carry into later life. We've been taught that openness is strength, that sharing feelings builds connection, and in the right relationships, it does. But in most social dynamics, oversharing and instant reactions reduce leverage dramatically. When you tell people exactly how you feel the moment you feel it, you give them control over your emotional state. When you react immediately to every provocation, you teach others they can move you with minimal effort. When you make your inner world transparent, you remove the natural barrier between you and the world. The result is that people stop walking carefully. They step harder, they push further. The antidote isn't becoming cold, it's becoming selective. Share deeply with those who have earned it. With everyone else, maintain a calm, unreadable surface. Detachment scares insecure people because it removes their ability to read and control you. When you're no longer easy to provoke, to guilt, to flatter, to predict, they lose their usual tools. Insecurity thrives on predictability and emotional leverage. Take those away, and the insecure person feels exposed, uncertain, even threatened. They may label you arrogant, cold, distant, anything to reframe your composure as a flaw rather than a strength. But their discomfort is the proof that the shift is working. They can no longer play the old games. They have to adjust or withdraw. Either outcome protects your space. Confidence and exposure are not the same thing. Showing everything, every reaction, every hurt, every doubt is not strength, it's surrender. True confidence is quiet containment. It doesn't need to broadcast itself. It doesn't require validation in real time. It doesn't spill over at the first push. The strongest people you've known were rarely the most expressive. They were the most contained. They let their actions and presence speak while keeping their inner world private. That containment is what makes them feel untouchable. Powerful people reduce access in three main ways: firm boundaries, deliberate control of their time, and highly selective engagement. They don't answer every message immediately. They don't attend every event. They don't accept every invitation to explain themselves. They decide who gets their attention, when, and how much. This isn't rudeness, it's sovereignty over their own life. Time is the most finite resource. When you guard it ruthlessly, others begin to treat it as valuable. Silence is perhaps the most powerful piece of armor. Not responding to provocations, not explaining yourself, not filling awkward silences. These choices protect far more than any clever comeback ever could. Arguing gives the other person relevance. Silence denies it. When you refuse to engage, you refuse to give them emotional oxygen. Most people cannot tolerate prolonged silence from someone they want to move. They either back off or escalate. An escalation usually exposes them. Either way, you remain untouched. A consistent reputation for restraint and composure creates a shield that discourages challenges before they even form. People learn. This person doesn't react easily, doesn't overshare, doesn't chase approval. Testing them feels pointless or risky. Over time, the reputation itself becomes the deterrent. You don't have to defend your space because others have already accepted that it's not freely available. People attack what they can reach. Accessibility invites interference the way an open door invites visitors. The more reachable you are, emotionally, socially, digitally, the more people feel entitled to step inside. Reduce reach and interference drops. It's that simple. Being untouchable is often misread by others as arrogance or coldness because most people equate warmth with constant availability. When you stop being constantly warm, constantly responsive, constantly validating, they feel the temperature drop. They label it to make sense of their discomfort. Let them. Their labels are not your truth. There is a real cost to becoming untouchable. Less constant validation, fewer casual connections, moments of loneliness when the world feels a little farther away, misunderstandings from those who prefer easy access to real respect. These costs are genuine. The question is whether the alternative, being constantly available, constantly tested, constantly drained, is worth it. For most people who have lived long enough, the answer becomes clear. Certain situations demand untouchability more than others. Workplace politics, where every reaction is noted. Social circles, where gossip and status games run constantly. Negotiations, where vulnerability is leverage. Public spaces, where visibility invites scrutiny. In these arenas, being hard to reach is not optional. It's essential. The internal shift required is from approval-seeking to self-respect. It starts with a single recognition: your worth does not depend on being liked, needed, or understood by everyone. When that belief settles, the need to explain, to react, to be constantly available begins to fade. You stop performing for an audience that never deserved the performance. Self-respect becomes the foundation. From there, untouchability flows naturally. Here is the final principle: you are untouchable when you need nothing from others. Not their approval, not their attention, not their validation, not their immediate response. When your emotional, psychological, and even practical needs are met internally or through carefully chosen relationships, you become difficult to move. Independence is the ultimate shield, not because it makes you invincible, but because it makes you uninteresting to attack. No leverage exists where no need exists. You spent decades learning what matters, what lasts, what drains. Now is the time to apply that knowledge to yourself. Reduce access, guard your time, contain your reactions. Let silence do the work. The result isn't isolation, it's freedom. Freedom from the daily friction of other people's agendas. Freedom to live at your own pace. Freedom to be respected not because you demand it, but because you've made it the only reasonable option. You are not here to be reached by everyone. You are here to be reached by those who earn it. The rest can admire from a distance. That distance is your strength. That distance is your untouchability. And after all these years, you've earned every inch of it.